Their rage simmers like a storm beneath the surface, watching as you stand unmoved by their schemes. Every calculated attack, every orchestrated drama, every attempt to provoke your worst reactions, met with a calm they never counted on. The Karmic player unleashed their full arsenal. Fake stories, created chaos, sent others to test your bond, even tried to replicate your connection. But your composed strength and unwavering faith left them empty-handed, their fury growing with each failed attempt to destroy what was divinely protected. Now they're forced to witness how their greatest efforts to end your union only proved its unshakable foundation. Lies were their weapon. Deception was their game, and they played it masterfully. At least, that's what they believed. They knew exactly what to say, how to say it, and when to plant their poison. They whispered carefully crafted falsehoods into the ears of those closest to you, slowly chipping away at trust. They exaggerated details, twisted narratives, and manipulated emotions with surgical precision. Every word was a seed of doubt, designed to grow into a storm of confusion. And the goal, divide and conquer. They wanted to turn trust into suspicion, love into resentment, stability into chaos. They needed cracks to form, needed you to break under the weight of their interference. And for a moment, it almost seemed like they succeeded. And there was distance. Conversations felt different. Moments of hesitation replaced certainty. Silence became heavier. You could feel something shifting, even if you didn't know exactly what it was. A sign, and that was enough for them to celebrate. They smirked, they watched, they waited for the inevitable collapse. They thought they had won. But what they never understood is this: divine connections don't break under pressure, they are forged in it. And what was meant to be shaken only became more stable. The bond they tried to weaken only grew stronger. The fire they meant to extinguish, it only burned brighter then, because something happens when people are forced apart by lies. It forces them to look deeper, to ask questions, to search for the truth. And once the truth starts unraveling, the whole web of deception falls apart. That's when the panic set in. Because instead of achieving destruction, they witnessed resilience. Instead of causing chaos, they became the reason for clarity. Instead of turning two souls against each other, they accidentally became the reason those souls realized just how unshakable their connection really was. Now, the Karmic sights in disbelief. Their power, an illusion. Their control, never real. Their victory, a fantasy that slipped through their fingers the moment truth started revealing itself. They miscalculated, they underestimated, they overplayed their hand, and now. They're left with nothing but their own bitter realization. They never had the power they thought they did. And they were never the author of this story. They were just a passing storm, trying to shake a foundation that was built to withstand anything. And that realization, it's eating them alive. They needed your reaction like air. And every trap they set was designed to make you crack. Every rumor, every lie, every carefully placed piece of bait. It was all orchestrated to provoke a response. They wanted rage. They wanted tears. They wanted you to lash out in frustration, to spiral, to lose control. And they studied your weaknesses, looking for the perfect moment to strike. They knew the buttons to push, the wounds to press, the insecurities to exploit. And so they tried, again and again, testing, poking, provoking. But instead of meeting fire with fire, you gave them nothing. No emotional breakdowns, no desperate explanations, no heated arguments that could be twisted and used against you, and just silence. And that, it destroyed them. And because their power never came from themselves, it came from your response. They relied on your pain to fuel their illusion of control. They needed you to fight, to defend, to scream your truth so they could twist it into something ugly. Their entire strategy depended on you playing into their chaos. But you never did. And you refused to be their puppet. You refused to dance to the beat of their destruction. You refused to give them the energy they craved. And without it, they started to unravel. And at first, they thought you were strategizing, waiting for the right moment to strike back. They waited, expecting the explosion that never came. And when it didn't, panic set in. And because your silence wasn't passive, it was a weapon. It left them alone with their own deception, forced to sit with the weight of their own manipulation. Without your reaction to distract them, they had to face the truth. They were never in control. The more you ignored them, the more desperate they became. They threw out new bait, fake crises, sudden apologies, calculated emotional triggers. They spread more lies, hoping something, anything, would push you over the edge. But all they got was more silence. And that silence, it shattered them in ways words never could. And they're spiraling now, confused, frustrated, enraged, and because for all their efforts, for all their games, for all the ways they tried to break you, and they only ended up breaking themselves. And then, for a while, they couldn't see it. They were caught in the illusion, tangled in the web of manipulation. Every lie, every whisper, every carefully crafted deception made them doubt what they once knew to be real. The Karmic had them right where they wanted, blind, confused, unsure of who to trust. And for a time, it worked. And they distanced themselves, pulled away, maybe even turned against you. Not because they wanted to, but because they truly believed they had to. The Karmic made sure of that. They created false narratives, twisted the truth, played on fears and insecurities. They painted you as the villain while playing the victim themselves. And for a moment, it seemed like they had won. But the thing about truth, it always rises. The more the Karmic pushed, the more cracks started to show. Their lies became inconsistent. Their mask started to slip, and the person they tried so hard to manipulate began to notice. At first it was small things, a story that didn't add up, a contradiction they couldn't ignore, a gut feeling that whispered, something isn't right. Then the signs became impossible to dismiss. They started seeing the patterns, the same tricks, the same tactics, the same toxic cycles repeating over and over. They realized the Karmic wasn't protecting them. They were controlling them. The concern wasn't genuine. It was manipulation disguised as care. The entire foundation of deceit they had believed in was crumbling beneath them. And suddenly, the truth became undeniable, and they saw everything, and how they had been used, how they had been misled, how they had almost lost something irreplaceable because of someone else's selfish agenda. And now, they're waking up. Regret sinks in. Anger builds, not at you, but at themselves for not seeing it sooner. They replay every moment, every warning sign, every time they ignored their intuition. They wonder how they let themselves be controlled, how they let lies shape their choices. But here's the thing about awakening. Once the truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. And the Karmic? And they know they're losing their grip. No more illusions, no more distractions, no more lies to hide behind. The person they tried to pull away is slipping right through their fingers. Nan, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Nan, stop right there. Yes, you. This message isn't for everyone, and if you don't feel it, that's fine, move along. But if you've felt it deep in your bones, you'll know this is for you, and the ones who don't fit in, and the ones who see beyond the veil, and the ones who've been told to stay quiet, to settle, to conform, but never could. They aren't interested in what's ordinary. They aren't here to follow someone else's rules, and they're the light in the dark, the storm that shatters illusions, the unshakable, the unstoppable, the untouchable. while the world is busy. Running circles, they're walking their own path, alone if they must. Not for the applause, not for the approval, but because it's who they are. And here's to the ones who take what was meant to destroy them and transform it into something divine. The ones who carry wisdom that can't be taught, only earned. So if this resonates with you, then maybe it's time to find your people. The Obsidian Inner Order is the only place of its kind, the #1 ascension nexus for chosen ones, where over 400 of us gather to share wisdom, connect, and transform. Det and no masks, no games, just truth. The link is in the description. If you're ready, you'll know where to find us. If not, that's fine too. The choice is yours, Tanden. They can feel it slipping away. The control, the lies, the false sense of power they built their entire identity around. Deet first, they were confident, smug even. They thought they had it all figured out, that every move was perfectly calculated. They thrived on their ability to manipulate, to twist emotions, to turn people against each other. They convinced themselves they were the mastermind, the puppeteer pulling every string, and for a while it worked. They had people believing their false narratives. They created chaos and sat back, watching as others danced to the tune of their deception. They felt untouchable, knowing that they could weave a web of lies so intricate that no one would ever see the truth underneath. But then something changed. One by one, their lies began to unravel. Tiny cracks appeared in the foundation they had worked so hard to build. At first, they dismissed it, just a coincidence, just a misunderstanding. But then the cracks grew. People started questioning things. Stories stopped aligning. The person they worked so hard to manipulate began seeing inconsistencies. The trust they had spent so much time poisoning began to mend itself. And now, they are panicking, and because nothing is working anymore, and the tactics that once brought instant results now fall flat. The lies that once spread like wildfire now barely catch a spark. The control they once wielded so effortlessly is slipping through their fingers, no matter how tightly they try to hold on. And so they scramble, they become reckless, and they shift their strategy, throwing out desperate attempts to regain their hold. And fake apologies, empty words disguised as remorse, sudden bursts of kindness, insincere gestures meant to reel their victim back in. And when that doesn't work, they escalate. Big crises, emotional manipulation, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, public theatrics. They try to make themselves look like the victim, hoping sympathy will be enough to keep their influence alive. But it's too late. The one they tried to control isn't falling for it anymore. The illusion is shattered, the blindfold is off. The lies no longer have weight, and now the Karmic is left with nothing. In no control, no influence, no way to twist the narrative back in their favor. And because the person they tried so hard to keep trapped, they're walking away. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And the Karmic? They are left standing in the ruins of their own deception, realizing that everything they tried to hold on to is slipping away. For goodbye, they thought they could destroy it. They believed that with enough deception, enough manipulation, and enough interference, they could sever what was meant to last. They thought if they whispered enough lies, stirred enough doubt, and orchestrated enough chaos, they could break the foundation of something divinely protected. But they never stood a chance, because this was never just any connection. This was something rare, something sacred, something written long before they ever entered the picture. This was the kind of bond that transcends time, trials, and even separation. And every attack they launched, every scheme they plotted, it only made the connection stronger, and they spread rumors, yet the truth found its way to the surface. And they planted doubt, but faith refused to waver, and they stirred chaos. But the foundation never cracked. And at first, they mistook silence for weakness. They thought distance meant the connection was failing. They assumed that because they were able to manipulate circumstances, they were winning. But divine unions don't break under pressure, and they are forged in it. And every storm the Karmic sent was nothing more than a test, a refining process, a way to strip away illusions and reveal the undeniable strength of this connection. And now, as they stand in the wreckage of their own failed plans, they are forced to confront a truth they tried so hard to avoid. They were never in control, and they were nothing more than a temporary disruption in a story that was always meant to unfold exactly as it is. And the most ironic part, and their interference only proved the depth of this connection. The more they tried to destroy it, the more obvious it became that this bond was unbreakable. The more they fought against it, the more divine protection surrounded it. The harder they pushed, the clearer it became who was truly aligned with truth and who was merely an agent of destruction. And now, they have no choice but to watch, as the very thing they tried to ruin stands stronger than ever. And they lost. Not just the battle, but the war. End, because this was never just about two people. This was about something greater. No amount of manipulation, gossip, or deception could break what was never theirs to touch. No human interference can undo what the universe has already declared unbreakable. And they thought they could rewrite fate, but they were never the authors of this story. And now, as they watch everything they fought so hard to sabotage rise from the ashes, untouched, unstoppable, divinely aligned, they are left with nothing. And drop a comment, no force can break what is divinely mine. If you know this union was never meant to shatter, desperate people do desperate things. And right now, the Karmic is drowning in desperation. They feel it slipping away, the control, the influence, the ability to manipulate. Everything they spent so much time orchestrating is falling apart. The person they once controlled is waking up. The web of lies they spun so carefully is unraveling thread by thread, and the connection they swore they could destroy, it's standing stronger than ever, untouched by their interference. And that, it terrifies them. And because they never imagined this day would come, they never prepared for the possibility that their manipulation wouldn't work forever, that one day the illusion would crack, the truth would rise, and they would be left with nothing, and they always assumed they had the upper hand, that no one would ever see through them, that no matter what, they would always be 2 steps ahead, pulling the strings, dictating the narrative. But now, they're out of moves. And when a manipulator feels powerless, they don't just accept defeat. They lash out and so expect it in one final, desperate attempt to regain control. In a fake crisis, a dramatic revelation, a sudden emergency that demands immediate attention. They might claim they're in danger, that they need help, that their world is falling apart and only their victim can save them. They might suddenly fall ill, conveniently requiring sympathy, devotion, and care, just as their power is slipping away. No, maybe they'll take a different route. So maybe they'll turn vicious and they'll spread even bigger lies, ones more outrageous than before. They'll dig deep, weaponizing secrets, twisting truths, doing anything to cause doubt, fear, or second-guessing. And if that doesn't work, they'll try to play on emotions, and they'll claim they've changed, that they finally understand their mistakes, that they're ready to do better if only they're given one last chance. And they'll apologize, cry, beg, say all the right words, and they'll remind their victim of the good times, of the moments that felt real. They'll weave a new illusion, one designed to pull at the heartstrings and keep them stuck just a little longer. Because once they lose their grip for good, they have nothing left, and they know it. That's why this final move will be their most desperate yet. And they will say or do anything to stop the inevitable. But it won't work. Because the truth is already out. The illusions are already shattered. The person they tried so hard to control sees them now. And once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. And so let them try. Let them scramble, plot, and manipulate one last time. Let them throw their final blow. Because no matter what they do, they cannot stop what's coming. And what's meant to happen will happen. And the Karmic, they were never part of this destiny, and they were just a detour on the way to something greater. Now the deception is gone. And the Karmic's lies, useless. Their manipulation exposed, their influence completely shattered. And in the one they tried to keep trapped, free Dutton. But now the real question arises, what happens next? Because this was never just about exposing the Karmic. It was about forcing a decision, a moment of clarity that only you can answer. Now that the interference is gone, now that the veil has been lifted, you are standing at a crossroads. And do you rebuild what was meant to be? The bond was tested, stretched, nearly broken, but it survived. It was dragged through deception, battered by lies, and suffocated under manipulation, but it never truly shattered. Maybe this was all meant to happen, to strengthen what was weak, to expose what was hidden, to make sure that what remains is unshakable. Maybe the separation was never about ending things, but about proving how unbreakable they really are. And now, with the Karmic gone, is it time to return to what was always meant to be? And do you walk forward alone? And because maybe this wasn't just about exposing the Karmic, maybe it was about exposing everything. The Karmic wasn't the only one who had to be revealed, so did the person you were connected to. And maybe they allowed the interference. Maybe they believed the lies too easily. Maybe they were too weak to see through the manipulation when it mattered most. Maybe the lesson wasn't just about their awakening, but about yours, about realizing that even a divine connection is not an excuse to accept betrayal, doubt, or disloyalty. Because sometimes, even when a connection is strong, even when it's fated, even when it's meant to be, the lesson is more important than the reunion. And maybe you don't need to go back, and maybe you don't need to rebuild. And maybe this was never about proving the strength of the bond, but about proving your own strength. And because before the Karmic, before the lies, before the chaos, you were whole. And now you still are, with or without this connection. And so the choice is yours now. No more interference, no more deception clouding your judgment, no more Karmic illusions pulling the strings, and just you and that power. It was always yours. Now the real question is, what will you do with it? Ning. They were so sure of themselves, and they truly believed they had won, that their deception had worked, that their manipulation was flawless, that they had successfully destroyed something meant to last. And for a moment, they even celebrated. But now, they have nothing, and the person they tried to control, gone. The lies they built their power on, exposed. The relationship they swore they could break, stronger than ever, or untouchable in its absence. They invested everything into destruction, every ounce of energy, every calculated scheme, every desperate attempt to rewrite destiny. And what did they gain? Nothing. In fact, they lost the very thing they fought so hard to keep: control. Because in the end, they were never in charge. They were never the mastermind. They were never the one dictating the outcome. They thought they could play God, but destiny was never in their hands. And now, they are left with emptiness. While you walk away stronger than ever, no force on earth can stop what's meant for you. No deception can shake your foundation. No Karmic interference can alter the course of your divine path. They thought they had won, but in reality, They lost everything.